When you see an old photo from let's say 100 years ago, you may wonder what that location looks like today. This is something I've wondered and have been able to recreate old pictures standing exactly where the photographer once was. I was able to do this here with a very old photo of a psychiatric hospital in Toronto, now converted to a college campus. This photo is about circa 1910. It can be difficult, but I'll go over the whole process in detail so you can give it a go yourself if you want. This can be difficult as areas often change lots and can be nearly impossible to find any usable features. Postcards can work well for this as they were often mass-produced and are very easy to find at most antique stores for very cheap or online in some cases. Firstly, I would like to mention that objects that change such as trees aren't too valuable as they grow and can be cut down. Due to this, I suggest choosing a focal point that is preferably something man-made. This focal point is the part of the image we will match up later. This particular image should be interesting as this area is now a public park and has no motorcycle racing track. It also features what looks like two houses and a grandstand. These are all possible candidates. The next step is going to the actual location to try to match up the two photos. Finding the relative location here is easy as a wide field was obviously where this picture was taken. However, the location is now a public cricket patch instead of a racing track in the old photo. Also, the grandstand I soon found out was demolished in the 1950s. Internet research is your friend in this hobby. Aerial photos can also be useful. Here you can see that there are multiple old houses close by the field highlighted here. I tried a few angles toward those houses but had no luck. After this I tried the other side of the field and noticed one solitary old house amongst the trees. Looking at the original photo, it can be seen that this house looks exactly the same with even the windows not changing at all. Yes, the other two structures have since been demolished, but all you need is one to work with. Pretty cool to see where that grandstand once stood many decades ago with absolutely no traces of it at all today. Now comes the challenging part where you try to match everything up perfectly and stand exactly where that photographer once stood. Something to note is the field of view is different camera by camera. You don't really need a fancy camera to do this, as I have done this with my phone's camera and it's worked fine. Having a good screen in your camera is also great for fine tuning. Bring a copy of the older photo to the location as well. Obviously you want your focal object to be about the same size in your picture as in the original. This may take some trial and error by walking to and from the object, but it can be settled soon enough. Once you have that correct, you must align yourself properly. For this, I suggest trying to frame your picture in the same way as the original. Here the house is just over halfway up the photo and let's say an eighth of the picture to the left. Again, patience is key here, but keep trying and it will eventually work out. Keep in mind you can always crop out parts of your photo later if your field of view is too large. I suggest taking several pictures here and seeing which one works best when editing in the next step. Here, you will need a photo editor that allows to have multiple layers, adjust transparency, and adjust photo sizes for fine tuning. Something such as Photoshop would work well for this, but I found this program Pixlr X, a free online one, works very well. I suggest putting your picture on the top layer and the old one on the bottom. Use very little transparency, you can see what you're doing. Again, I'm using this house as my focal point. In a perfect world, both photos would align perfectly. However, this will require lots of luck. Here the house is too small in my picture, so I have to adjust the size. This is where it can get tedious. If you have multiple objects, this can be extremely difficult, but will give perfect results if you can pull it off. Here you can see me doing some small adjustments trying to get the houses to perfectly align in both size and orientation. Finally, I've arrived at a point I feel satisfied enough with. Remember, this doesn't have to be super exact, as this is just a hobby. Next, you will have to find how to present your work. There are a few ways you can do this, one of which is displaying both photos side by side to show the similarities and differences. If you are unable to get everything matched up perfectly, I suggest this method. However, my favorite method involves turning into a short video clip. This can be done with any screen recording programs. I use the Xbox game bar as it is standard in most Windows computers. All you have to do here is simply record your screen and adjust the transparency of the photo on the top layer from 0 to 100. Here's a quick demonstration of this. This can be a tedious journey that requires some practice but feels very rewarding when pulled off. Hope some of you out there will try this out and find it can be a fun hobby to kill some time and get in touch with history. You can find a few other images I did at this location by clicking on the video card. Thanks for watching.